Welcome to Southern Sisters, where real talk meets rooted faith. We're your hosts, Meggan, Lindsay, Courtney, and Evie, bringing sisterhood, laughter, and a whole lot of grace to the everyday chaos. Welcome to our 20th episode of Southern Sisters. We are so glad you're here. And by we, I mean all of the Southern Sisters, even the ones that are not here with me at this moment. Guys, we are on episode 20. My goodness, what does that even mean? Like, seems unreal to me that we have recorded 20 of these episodes. I can't even believe it. Our icebreaker question for this episode is, where is everyone else? So I'd like to tell you a little bit of a story. A couple weeks ago, I always try to do one interview every month. I'm trying to incorporate that into the planning of our sessions. And we do 3 sister episodes. Well, we've already recorded those for the next few weeks. We did that last week. But a few weeks ago, I was thinking about this month's episode, and I really wanted to share from my own personal experience. I felt like this needed to be a solo episode. At first, I was like, you need to do it solo. And then my inner voice was like, no, you don't. Like, it's so much more fun when you have everybody talking and laughing. And then I was like, no, you do. And it kind of came and it wouldn't leave me alone. So here we are. So that is what this episode is about. Now, what to talk about? Goodness gracious. There's so many topics that I could sit and chat with you about today. But the one that I've been thinking about for the last few weeks that has not let go of my heart and my mind and everything is just kind of a look back at the last year. It's the end of school. All of school is coming to a close. And I think it's a really great time for reflection, to learn and to think about how everyone grew this year and the lessons that we learned together. Now, all of my children, who are amazing and wonderful, have taught me different things this last school year, and that's what I want to share with you today. So I hope this will be entertaining. I have a few stories sprinkled in because what is life without some funny stories? But I just wanted to share with you the top 5 things that each of my kids have taught me for the 2024-2025 school year. So now that it's coming to a close. All right. First, we have my oldest. She went away to college. And the thing that I learned from her is that walking the faith road can bring you a lot of blessings, things that you don't even expect. And watching the whole process of her walking this faith road has been such a huge boon and like builder of my own faith to see her do this. So something you may not know is she was accepted to a lot of really great schools. When we were in the college sorting process, like, we had a lot of really great options for her. She loved the idea of going to Memphis and living at home. She loved the idea of going to UT Chat because it was beautiful, and they had the music therapy program that she was really interested in. And she also applied to BYU because her best friend, Chloe, who's amazing, got in the year before. And she invited Kate and another one of their bestie friends out for a visit, kind of like in the fall of her senior year. And she was like, I think I want to just apply there to BYU, which is 2,500 miles away from Tennessee. I remember thinking, well, that's cool. She literally applied at the next to last possible second you could put your application in. I remember thinking, if she gets in, it'll be because that's exactly where she needs to go, because of how competitive it is and what a great school it is. Push come to shove, she did get in. And while she was excited, she was also very much afraid. But in her own meditating and prayer, she had received an answer that she needed to go. And it was a very personal experience for her. And so even though she didn't necessarily want to, it was much easier to take the safe road and stay home, or go a couple hours away and have the program that she thought she needed that was going to shape her life, because that's what occupations do. She decided to go into the unknown. And I found this great quote by Martin Luther King Jr. It said, faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. And I feel like that was an example to me of her walking that faith road, I was so proud because I knew how hard it was. Over the course of the last year, so many blessings, so many relationships she has in her life now that she didn't have and she wouldn't have if she hadn't taken that leap. She's had so many experiences and gained her independent wings that she would not have had if she had stayed closer to home. School was paid for. Like every single penny, housing, room and board, between philanthropic grants and other grants. We didn't have to pay anything for her freshman year of college. That is a literal financial blessing of heaven. And I know it's because she walked the faith road and it was God's way of saying, good job. That doesn't always happen, but it was a very tangible blessing that was just huge. It allowed her to have the space to grow and to have fun without having the pressure that usually comes with like your freshman year of college when you're trying to figure out how to pay and how to live and how to make it all work. And she had peace from that. It was great. It was really, really incredible. So that is what I learned from her. Faith in action. All right, my second child. He's amazing. I have loved watching him grow into a young adult. He will be 17 in a few months and has so many gifts. All the other kids, I feel like I've had a front row seat to these lessons just because they're homeschooled. And while I never thought that would be something that I would technically or realistically or in any way enjoy, it has been wonderful to see them all up close and personal and see these struggles that they have and kind of be there to help them along. My second son, the lesson that I've learned from him is that later means never. So we have been thinking a lot and learning a lot about what it means to be self-disciplined and what ownership of our decisions means. And I'll be honest, it has made me take a look at myself and the different decisions that I'm making and decide, like, am I going to show ownership in this moment? Am I going to show self-discipline? It's a really big deal. It's a really hard thing to teach. It's a really hard thing to learn. He has done so great this year. He's taken creative writing. He's taken a Shakespeare literature class that he's done fantastic in. He's gotten personal finance done. Whenever he started homeschooling, he said, "Hey, Mom, I want to graduate early." And I thought, oh man, that's going to put the timeline a little bit more of a crunch than I thought it would. But we came up with a plan and he's done super great. But he has these 3 core classes: geometry, Spanish, biology, and they have to be done online. They're considered honors courses. We found a really great program that had great reviews. Well, come to find out, he is not a kid that likes online classes, which I can understand. I can see it. It has been really hard. Part of the problem is that in January, I got really busy with work. And while I thought he was taking care of the things he was supposed to with these courses, he wasn't. He decided that he would take a 6-week sabbatical from school. And because of that, everyone else is done with school right now. And he's not. He's still having to walk the school road. I mean, I remember I told him a few weeks ago, I'm like, hey, I signed up to be your homeschool teacher, not your homeschool summer school teacher. So let's get this together because it is just a lot. It's a lot to do. It's a lot to be behind and then having to play catch up. But I actually have been reading this book that I read for book club last month. It's called Extreme Ownership. It's by Jocko Willink, and they were Navy SEALs, him and his co-author Lee Favett. And it was a really fantastic book, so much so that I've decided all my boys need to listen to it because it was all about how you need to have ownership for all of the things that you do. Like if you're a leader, if you're going to be a leader, then you have to have ownership and accountability for the missions that you're given and the things that you're meant to do. And the quote that I loved that I've been thinking about so much for the last few weeks is that it's not what you preach, it's what you tolerate. And because of that, I have been holding his feet to the fire and making sure that he finishes the things that he needs to do, because with my kids, I really don't care what they learn. I just want them to learn the process of learning and become people that are lifelong learners, because I value education so much in the classroom and also on your own. I think that a life filled with learning and books, and it's without limits. So it's been really difficult for me to try and enforce this, because the mom in me wants to be like, oh, it's summer, you'll be fine, you're going to have a great time. No, you got to finish. We finish what we start. You agreed to do this, even though it was going to be difficult, and we're going to make it, and it's going to be great. You're going to learn lots of things. He's been learning that delaying the hard things delays the good things too. He wanted to go out with friends tonight, and I looked at his schedule of what he got done this week, and I'm like, I'm sorry, you only got so many of your Spanish lessons done, so you can't go out until you get that done. Oh, the anguish. Oh, the anguish. But it's been a really big deal, and I'm really grateful that he has taken accountability. He understands the program. He is willing to keep walking the road. It's a big deal. Watching him step up has made me reevaluate the areas where I say later and realize that I often mean never. How many times do we put that on our to-do list? Like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this later. I'm going to do this later. I was talking with my husband this week because he had a couple of ideas of things he wanted to do. And I'm like, do you know the difference between people that are successful and not is that people take the idea and actually do it? And most people just have the idea and it just kind of drifts away. So, recognizing that later means never for me, just as often as it does for him, has been really, really eye-opening. All right. So my third lesson that I have learned has been from my middle child. He's in 7th grade this year, finishing it up. And the lesson that I learned from him is that God will provide. Now, to know my middle son is to know that from the day he was born, from the day he could talk, his very first word was ball. Not mom, not dada, ball. He has loved ball his whole entire life. Now, I'm going to clue you in on a little unpopular opinion that I have. I have always had very, very strong opinions of having kids involved in activities that are hard on the family. I feel like the cost is too high and it's not one that we're willing to pay. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that usually my kids aren't involved in theater because that's like a part-time job. It takes too much time away from the family. Same thing with competitive sports. So my son, who loves baseball, has only ever played rec baseball because the competitive atmosphere, I mean, there's so many tournaments, there's so many things. And it's, if you don't have a parent with you, then you have the whole family. Like, how could we do that and still be fair to everyone having the ability to have their own interests? I've always kind of looked at it as the collateral damage of having a large family. It's just one of those things that we've had to give up, knowing that it is too much of a price that we don't want to pay. So he's played rec ball. My husband has coached most of his life on most of his teams. It's always been a really great experience. We loved it. When he was in 6th grade last year, he was excited because he was going to finally be able to try out for the school team. They had a middle school team and it was going to be amazing. He had been practicing for weeks and weeks. He goes to tryouts and the coach was on the pitcher's mound checking everybody in. There were probably 2 or 3 men standing out there, and he tells McKay, hey, go over there to that dugout. So McKay's like, all right, yes, sir. He goes over to that dugout. And while he's over there, he's like, had a question. This is his first time trying out for a school team. I imagine he was pretty nervous. He goes over to the coach and the coach just starts yelling at him. I thought I told you to stay in the dugout, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm not a baseball coach, but I imagine at tryouts, it's a little stressful. You're trying to keep middle school kids organized. It's probably a little crazy. But my tenderhearted kid comes up to me with tears in his eyes and says, I want to go home. And I said, nope, we're not going to do that. You've waited for this for years. You're going to try out and you're going to do great. And he just looked at me and said, he did not make a very good first impression. To which I said, you are correct. Let that fuel your passion for playing and go do a great job. I don't know how it went because my husband ended up coming and I went home and made dinner and took care of everybody else. But I know he did not make the team. And part of it was because I'm sure he was a little bit skittish because he had this coach that had literally yelled at him the first thing he ever said. All that to say that his whole life, we felt like we've been having the brakes put on him and his talents and his abilities. And part of it was because of the cost of the family, but the other part of it was that we chose to not play sports that had you play on Sundays. We keep Sunday as a family day, and we try to always stay together on Sundays and have that be dedicated family time. My husband and I both are self-employed and work crazy hours, and always having that Sunday together has meant so much for our family. And so we don't play sports. Even with rec ball, when they had games or practices on Sunday, we just would politely decline and not play a part. So he decides he wants to homeschool this year. And probably 2 weeks before school starts, we're looking on Facebook and my husband sees an ad for the Memphis Area Homeschool Education Association. They're having tryouts for a baseball team, and they have middle school team and high school team. And here are the tryouts. It was 2 days of tryouts. It was crazy. There were like 150 kids there. There were kids everywhere throwing balls, hitting. It was super organized, but also a little insane. And he went and we filled out the form and he tried out and he made one of the 7th grade teams. There were 2 7th grade teams, 1 8th grade team and 1 6th grade team. And he got to make that team and he got to play ball this spring. And it was incredible for us to experience that with him, while still allowing us to keep our standards, because this team that he played for, they prayed when they started their games. They would pray before games. They would pray before practices. His coaches were supportive. They were men that McKay really respected and admired because of who they were and how they treated the kids that were playing. It was incredible. His season, there were 19 teams in his division and they ended up being number 2. He had a great time. He met some great kids and he was able to increase his skills, and it was just a fantastic experience. His love for baseball, despite the sacrifice of not playing most of his life on the teams that he probably would have loved to, shows maturity, and his reward in making the team with the homeschool group that we did was a reminder to me that God honors faith and stewardship of family priorities. Like, it's a really big deal. A quote from President Russell M. Nelson says, "Are you willing to let God prevail in your life? Are you willing to let God be the most important influence in your life?" And I feel like that is what McKay's sacrifice was always stood as a witness to. The fact that he was letting God prevail in his life and have that be the most important influence in him. And that is huge. I was reminded of this scripture in Psalms 23, 1-3. And it reads, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul." And I feel like that's what this season for baseball was for my boy. With all the sacrifice that he has given his whole life, he was able to go out and have fun and catch fly balls and hit dingers. And he just had the best time. And I know that that experience was a blessing for the things that he has given up along the way. And it was just fantastic. His journey reminded me that provisions don't always look like what we think we want, but it often looks like exactly what we need right on time. And That is exactly right. So, next lesson from my little ray of sunshine. She was a fifth grader this year, and it was really different to see her grow and learn on such an individual basis, because fifth grade is usually when you move up out of elementary school. So kind of like the crossing of a bridge from one stage to another. And I'm really proud of her. And the thing that I have learned the most from her is how important it is to live a balanced life. And it's been such a great example for me. So balance is hard for us as adults, and our kids are watching. Seeing my fifth grader not have a balanced life kind of put a magnifying glass on me and the example that I was setting for her, for myself, not living a balanced life. And so it has been really great for her and I to have the chance this year to grow and develop together as we're kind of figuring out the rhythms that we want our life to have. And what that looks like is like incorporating movement into our day, incorporating reading time. One of the things that I love about our church for the children and youth is that they have a program where they focus on setting goals, and there's 4 areas. There's spiritual, intellectual, physical, and social. And we set goals, probably we try about once a month to measure that. And we have taken those measures and those goals, and we have decided that that's how we're going to fill her day. Like, look at it. Have you had time today where you have filled your spiritual cup? What about your physical cup? Have you moved? Let's go walking. We'll go walking together. We'll take the dog for a walk. It's been great. She tried to play pickleball in January and broke her wrist. That didn't work out great, but just filling our life with movement and paying attention to having balance. Another thing is how much screen time that she puts in her life. That is such a big deal to try and figure out what is the balance for that as adults and as kids. Like, you have to be so careful and be so intentional with how you spend your time, because if you're not, then you're going to look up and recognize that, you've fallen into a black hole of doom scrolling or whatever, Netflixing, however you spend that time. If you're not intentional with it, it's just gone. And really, time is the only currency that we have that is our own. Everything else is kind of give or take, but that time is ours to spend as we choose it, and how we do so will decide if we are wise or foolish, really. What you choose to fill your day with is important. Anne Lamott said, almost everything will work out again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you. So this is my challenge, and this is one of the things I've been working on a lot the last few weeks, is just kind of trying to figure out how I can incorporate balance into my life, and not so much work or not so much kids, but actually focusing on myself and what I can do to have personal growth, because it's so easy to get caught up in so many different things that you just fall into. You just lose. It's all about winning or losing, and having that balance in life is everything. All right. So my last kid. He has taught me that sometimes we need to be challenged, and that is okay. A couple of weeks ago, we were having a really hard week. I know those weeks between spring break and summer are super brutal. And so it's like that way in public school. Why wouldn't it be that way in homeschool as well? So we were having a hard time. I drug the principal into the conversation. That's my husband. And I was like, okay, we need to talk about, let's stay strong. We've got to do this. I need you to be a good listener. I need you to do this and this and this. My youngest is very strong-willed. We've talked about this. He is sometimes hard for me to manage, because I often say I'm just not alpha male enough for him to respect. He loves me. I know he does. And I love him, but I don't know. Him and my husband have a very different relationship, which is great. I think that sometimes you're going to have different bonds with different kids, and It works out best in our home if we kind of accentuate those relationships so that the parent who connects the best with that particular child is the one that actually helps to navigate their life situations. So we were talking. Principal Ben was in there with us and me and Bennett, and my husband, he made not the mistake, but he did say, he's like, listen, if you don't respect your mom and do what she says and listen and take care of the things you need to do, then literally it will take 2 seconds just to put you back in the amazing school where you were before. Like, it would take no time at all. And then here was where the mistake was made. He said, I bet you wouldn't survive 2 days, which we all know is not the truth because he survived there for years. Like, it's not like he can't hack it. He's a tough kid. He could totally do whatever he needed to do. So that night, our littlest one, who's in 2nd grade, went to bed and he was mournful. He was real sad. He had that head hung low. His bottom lip was hanging out. He went to bed and I felt bad. I was like, okay, we're going to have a great day tomorrow. It's Friday. It's going to be amazing. So the next morning he wakes up, and this is just shows you how brilliant he is. So he had a chance to sleep on it. And he woke up the next morning and he was like, hey, Mom. I was like, hey. He's like, so I've decided I want to go back to real school. I want to go back to real school on Monday. It's going to be great. So let's do it. What do we need to do? What do we need to do? And I was like, oh, this was the last week of April. And I was like, all right, let's think about this. I thought, okay, so what do we need to do? What is the best way to do that? And because I am able to think on my feet often, I was able to say, okay, so if you want to go to school Monday, I said, I don't know if that's possible, but let's kind of craft your school day today as if you were in real school. And so I sat down with him and I was like, okay, from 8 to 8:30, you're going to have bell work. And I had pulled out a bunch of phonics papers that he had to do. And I was like, here's your bell work. And once you get that done, we're going to do math. And then we're going to do reading time. And you're going to pick out a book so that we can have a test on it at the end of the day. It's going to be great. And I said, and then you're going to do reflex because you do double math at school because you need to practice math facts as well as learn new skills every day. And then we're going to have science. And then you're going to make your lunch. And they were like all 30-minute increments from 8:30 in the morning until 3, as if he were at school. And I thought that he would give up. And I thought that he would have trouble. And it actually was the moment he taught me that sometimes we need to be challenged more than we are. If you find yourself kind of drifting in life, then maybe you need to be challenged a little. Maybe you need to do that thing that you don't necessarily want to do because it's going to be the hard thing, but it's the thing that you need to do to grow and become the very best person that you need to be. I will tell you, after 2 hours, he looked at me and he goes, Mama, my brain hurts. And I was like, I mean, this is just what it is. And I will tell you, by the end of the day, he looked at me and was like, Mom, do you think that I could do this all the time, 5 days a week, like I used to? And I was like, heck yes, I do. Bennett, you can do whatever you put your mind to. Like anything you want to do, you will do, and you will be successful at it because that's who you are. He's driven. He's brilliant. He is going to do amazing things. He just doesn't want to do his reading and math with me because I'm his mom. So, we get through the whole day and I was so impressed. My husband came home and he was like, what'd you do? He saw the schedule. He was like, oh goodness, how'd that go? And I was like, actually, it was incredible. He sat by my side. I was working on my computer, checking the things as he did it, checking. He had a schedule, and he was challenged and it was difficult, but I thought, he's in 2nd grade and I've been taking it too easy on him. So I said, okay. Monday we woke up and he was like, do I get to go to school today? And I was like, actually, no, you don't. And he's like, why not? I wanted to go. And I was like, I know. And if you want to go in the fall, then we can totally do that. I said, but let's spend the next few weeks, these last few weeks of school, actually taking the time to prepare you to go back to school should you want to. And that means that we're going to have the same schedule we had on Friday, and we're going to do it again, a little bit modified, but your time is going to be filled with this and this and this. And he did great. The last 3 weeks of school, he did fantastic. Now, I did tell him, I was like, he goes, why can't I go now? I was like, because it's May, and May's like the whipped cream and the cherry on top of school. I said, Bennett, all these wonderful kids have been practicing for testing and end of course grades that they've had to do. I said, you didn't have to do any of that. I don't think it's fair that you get to go be there for the sprinkles on top when you didn't put in the time like everybody else. I was like, May is full of field trips and field days and fun and like crazy hair, like all the things. And I'm like, that's literally the best part of school. I was like, and you've had the sprinkles and the frosting all year long. You've had it in the moments where you were able to go with your big brother and practice baseball over at the park while everybody was gone, still in school. And like, you had all the fun times that we were able to go out for lunch. You've had all these frosting moments, and you can't go have like triple frosting because you didn't earn it. And he understood. He recognized the perks that he's had because he's been home, and that he's needed to finish strong and keep doing the things that he needed to do. His struggles and growth showed me that challenges aren't the enemy. They're the gateway to confidence and the gateway to growth. So if you have something in your life right now that you are struggling with, don't be afraid to take the leap and to do the challenging thing, because it matters. It could be the thing that shapes your life. I was listening to someone this week, and they were saying your life can look completely different a year from now just by small things that you do consistently and don't give up. So that is huge. Through his struggles, I've seen resilience form, and it's reminding me that I don't have to rescue my children from every hard thing, even though sometimes I want to. Sometimes the best thing for them is to truly take those challenges head on and finish and do and work hard and be challenged. They need the hard, and we do too. There is a quote from Quentin L. Cook. He says, personal foundations are usually built slowly, one layer, one experience, one challenge, one setback, and one success at a time. I just want to close with letting you guys know that being a parent doesn't mean that you have all the answers. What it does mean is that you're willing to show up, stay curious, and learn with humility. I think that one of the greatest gifts of family that sometimes as parents we fail to recognize is that our kids can teach us just as much as we are meant to teach them. And this school year reminded me that the classroom of life is always open, and some of my best teachers are living under my very own roof. So I hope you've been able to draw a nugget or two from these things that I've learned. I've loved watching them grow. I don't know what we'll do next year. We take every year one moment at a time as we try to navigate this educational experience that we've had. I know summer's coming, and I'm really, really excited for that. We love to cut loose and just hang out and enjoy each other over the summer. If you have summer coming, this is the thing that I would say. Summer can be tricky because you have all these personalities that happen to live together that most of the time during the school year are split and go in all their different ways. When you end up having everyone together again, it can be very frustrating because tempers run high, frustrations are, you're quick to explode. Just give your family the grace to get back used to being around each other and to having different rhythms and being okay with it. And just recognizing like this is a transition period where we give ourselves the space to figure out how this looks and how we're going to set boundaries and how we're going to be respectful and do those things that help us be a family and learn and grow and do all of these things together. It really is such an amazing experience. And I am so grateful for all the things I continue to learn. I love to learn, and I love to learn from those people that mean the most to me. So until next time, keep striving, and we will see y'all soon.
Thanks for hanging out with us here at Southern Sisters. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to follow us on social media for more laughs, heart-to-hearts, and behind-the-scenes real life. We'd be thrilled if you subscribed to the podcast, left us a review, and shared it with your friends, because life's always better when we're on this journey together. Until next time, keep striving, keep laughing, and keep showing up. We'll see you all back here real soon.